Hi folks, what I'm going to be doing in this video, it is very much for the purpose of the Junior Cert graphics sheet number 2 for this year's Junior Cert, okay? And what we're going to be doing is we're talking about dimensioning, okay? So you can see here I've actually got a simple orthographic drawing here, something you might have covered in your course at this stage, okay? It's based on weighing scales. And we're used to seeing these where we're drawing the elevation in the direction of arrow A, end elevation or end view in the direction of arrow B, and a bird's eye view or a plan view projected from the elevation. So as you can see, often in these drawings, you can see we're given various bits of information on the drawing to tell us how to draw it. Okay, we're told the overall lengths, the overall widths, the overall heights, and then any smaller measurements inside them. Okay, now for the purpose of today, what we have to do is we have to be able to use these dimensions and be able to actually put them or convey them on our 2D drawing sheet. Okay, when we've actually drawn the orthographic views. So that would actually help the person if they didn't have the 3D view like we have here, be able to decipher how to actually draw that out. Okay, it's like working backwards. So when we're dimensioning, it's very important that we put in the correct symbols and do it properly as well, because they are all marks towards presentation. Now, what I would always say is when we're dimensioning, is first of all know what you're dimensioning and how it's important that sometimes you can over dimension. So you'll see here I've already previously drawn in the elevation, the end elevation, and the plan view down here. Now, first of all, just zooming in here, I'm just going to highlight some things. Okay, just going to use some markers here. So in my elevation, I'm concerned with lengths and heights. Okay, so if I have, I'm just going to put in lengths there with the highlighted in red, and I'm going to go with heights in green. Okay, so in elevation, they are the only kind of two measurements I can focus on. They are my lengths and heights because it's 2D. Okay, in regards to my end elevation or the end view, that is to do with widths and heights. So once again, you can see heights occurs there once more. Okay, however, we have a new one here now. We have widths, so I'm going to go with blue for my widths. Okay, sometimes they are called your depth as well. And then finally, in our plan view or bird's eye view, you can see I've got widths once again, and also once again I have my lengths. Okay, so you can see in three views every measurement, okay, is occurring twice. I've got two greens, okay, for the heights, they are in elevation, end elevation. I've got two reds for the lengths, they are in my plan and my elevation. And then I've got two widths, they are in my end elevation and my plan. Okay, so sometimes if you have a width in your plan view, there's no need to put it in your end elevation. As long as you're hitting it in one, you're kind of notified that it's in the other as well. Okay, so if you have it here and you put in a width, let's say in your plan, okay, down here in our plan view, I'll just zoom out there, just get it back into the correct positioning, just go one more. Okay, so if we have a width put down here in our plan view, well then there might be not need to put it over here in the end elevation. Likewise, if I have a height put here in my elevation, I might not need to put that height in my end elevation, okay? Because there's sometimes, okay, you just need to get in what's relevant. There's no point of over dimensioning. Now, for the purpose of today's video, I'm going to put in lots of measurements here to explain the drawing, and I might do one or two of them twice in other places, but that is just to show you the skill of how you can actually dimension something differently, okay? It's very much going to relate, I suppose, to kind of the circular parts. So I'm going to start off just here by focusing on my elevation, okay? And for my elevation, because I've got a good bit of space here out to this side, okay, I can actually put in a lot of heights here in this space here. I could also do it for my end elevation over here. But often with the elevation, because it's one of the primary views, I'm going to put in my heights over here on this side. I'm not going to put them in here because, as you can see, the space between my elevation and end elevation, it will get quite cluttered inside there. So it makes more sense to put it here on the outside. Okay, so some of my heights there I'm going to start putting in. Now, if I just refer back to the drawing here, you can actually see, it's hard to see there on the screen, the quality is not great, but my overall height is 120. Then I've got several increments in. I've got 10, 35, 35, 15, and 25. Okay, so what we would do is we would always put in the overall height on the outside and then the smaller measurements on the inside. Okay, so that's what we're going to start off with on our sheet. So, a couple little rules on dimensioning now as well we're going to talk about. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to use a 2H. Now you can see here I kind of have the XY line already in. Now when I'm dimensioning, I'll just move this out of the way. When I'm dimensioning, I want to get in the overall height, okay, and then the smaller measurements on the inside of the overall height. So just based on this line here, I'm just going to extend that out very lightly there, and from the top I'm going to come out quite lightly as well. Okay, now to get the overall height, I'm going to put it in roughly out somewhere about here. What I would do is I would put a little line in there like this, okay, and on that line, okay, I'm going to start putting in some measurements. So starting off, do a vertical line like this, and at the very tip top, I'm going to put in a little arrowhead, neat and tidy like that. Make sure it's touching the line as best you can, and the overall height of that was 120. Okay, so I want to do it on the inside like this, so putting it roughly in the middle as best you can. There is my 120. Okay, now what I want to do on the inside of that is I want to do my smaller measurements. Now I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to show you this. Okay, I'm going to zoom in a little bit better there on that. I'm going to focus on the elevation there. So you can see what I've done there on the elevation. Now it's really important when you're doing these, just going to rub out this bit of the line here to make it a little bit lighter. Okay, these lines here coming out from the object are called almost leader lines. Okay, so from there I would never extend the leader line right from the point. I want to keep a little gap. So you can see here it comes out like that, and from this one the very same. Now my line was dark at the start because I'd put it in as an XY line. So you'd almost have a little gap, okay, where there should be no line from the end of your elevation, this corner here, before the leader line starts. So if you want, then you might have to come back and just rub out a little bit there, just to identify that, okay? Showing that it's not part of the drawing, it's a measurement coming from the drawing. Now, like I'm going to do it here. This step here is up 10 millimeters. So I would use my T-square. Don't start on the edge, come out a little bit. Okay, there's my leader line, and in the space between it, I'm going to put in a vertical line then. Okay, two little arrowheads, and then the number 10. Okay, nice and easy. You can see here it was extended out from the line first before I started it. Okay, the next one will come up from up here. So I'd once again started from here. I'd actually extend my line up first. Okay. The lights are just going out in the room here, so I'll have to get up and move a second. Just get them on. Go. So I extended that line up there. Now what I'm going to do is from the edge here, not starting on the corner, come out to meet it. Likewise with this one, come out to meet it. And what I'm going to do is put in little arrowheads in between them. So I want to do this very neatly and tidily. Smaller usually the neater. Okay, and you can see my little arrowheads in there. Now the height going in between here, okay, is 70. So put it right in the middle. Okay, I think I have 15 in here, and then finally I have 25. Okay, so I've done that there, 70. Now if I refer back to the sheet, you'll actually see that actual height in there, even though it is 70, I put in 70, okay, it's actually made up of 35 and 35, because that 35 is identifying to me, if I follow it along, it's actually identifying to me where the center of this little circle on the front is, where obviously the measurements will be red, okay? But I can get that in on another drawing, okay, in a second, and you'll see that. That's me just doing some heights there, showing how to do the leader lines, okay? Now on that, what will often happen with some students is, and it's not too bad, but I think when you do the arrowheads, it's much better if you keep them small and compact together like that. Some people might often do something like this, and I'd advise you not to do this. If you do something like that, and then shade it in. Now, it mightn't look too bad there at the top, but the problem is when you get down here and you've only got a small measurement of 10, that looks quite messy, okay? So try and focus on doing, you can see the difference between the two arrowheads. You've got this one, and you can see clearly that this little arrowhead looks a lot neater than obviously that one there. If they're too small, obviously you might just have to, just like me there, extend it out a little bit, okay? So that's something just to be mindful there on that one. Now, another thing we can do is we're going to put in, obviously, I have here a 70, but I have a line running across the middle, splitting that into 35 as well, okay? So I'm actually going to do that on my end elevation over here. So once again, I have the 10 already put in, okay? So something I could do here is I could extend out from this point here, okay? And once again, from this edge up here, extend out to about there, and put in a little line, and coming from the middle, which was over here, okay, we could identify that as being a center line. Okay, like that, and then put in two arrowheads. Okay, and I'm going to write in 35 and 35. Okay, really neat and tidy. You can see it there. I put in a little center line to show that that is half of 70. Okay, and that might actually run the whole way across it, but there it is. There's that little center line there. I've identified that this was already 15 high because we've got it here in the elevation, and this bit here was 25 high. Okay, so I've quite a bit of information put in there already. I've got my various heights and on my various heights here. So we've kind of done a lot of the heights there now. Okay, and the last little one I would put in here, I'm going to come back to it in a minute. I'm not going to do it yet, but is this circle here. Okay, and a circle obviously can be identified in a number of ways. It can be identified with a radius, or it can be identified with a diameter. Okay, the next one I'm going to focus on, sorry there, apologies, is some of my widths. Okay, now in regards to the widths, just pull this out a little bit, get that back into focus so we can see the whole image there. Okay, in regards to the widths, I've got my heights. In regards to the widths, I can either do my widths on my end elevation or on my plan. Okay, if you just refer back to this sheet, if you remember the widths, they can be done on the end elevation or the plan. Okay, so once again, you have to think about where is best suited on the sheet depending on what you've drawn. Sometimes your elevation is over here and so forth. Okay, so in this one here, I'm actually going to put in my widths on my plan view. Okay, and they will be in relation to these measurements over here, because my widths are going this way in my plan, they're going this way in my end elevation. So I'm actually going to do them in my plan view. So coming off the plan, because I've got a little bit of space here that's kind of blank from the side of the sheet, I'm going to put out my overall width once again, so a little leader line. Okay, I'll extend it down from the top there, just so I have a little guide. I want to keep everything neat and tidy. Get my overall width in first. Okay, put in my little arrowheads. And that's my overall width, and my overall width is 70. Nice and neat. Okay, and now I've got another width here. Okay, this distance out here at the front is 60. Okay, so I'll just check that back on the sheet. I've actually got 10, and I've got a 25 and a 35. So that's what I'll actually put in. So from here at the front, I'm going to step out. I'll actually do a line first, once again. In between them all. And from this section here, now this one's important. So I'm going to zoom in on this so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, so the distance from here to here is 10. Then from here up to here, which is going to give me the center of the circles in my plan, is 25, and then 35 to there. So I'm going to get all of those in. Now, really, really important, I'm going to identify that it's coming from here. So, once again, lightish line, okay, not as heavy as obviously your finishing lines. I'm not going to continue the line over the line here. There should be a little gap, so I do a little line, skip, and a line out, like that, okay. Likewise from here, I want to identify it from the center, a little cross in there, if you want, just identify the center, and from that center then, you can see how I skipped every one of them, and now I'm going to put in my arrowheads. Once again, triangles kept neat and tidy. So this one here, you might have to change your positioning. So I've got 10 there, 25 in here, and 35 in there. Okay, so just to note from that, have I got my overall measurement of my width here? Yes, I got my 35, my 25, and my 10. That's all my widths there. Okay, I've got all my heights in the elevation and one extra one in the end elevation. Okay, and the last one I might have to do now is I've done my widths, done my heights. The last one I might have to do is some of my lengths. Okay, and once again, have to decide where is best suited. So just bring it back up into focus there. Just zoom out a little bit. There we go. So as I said, I've got my heights. I've got some of my widths here. Okay, heights and widths done. Another height over here. Where can I put in my lengths? Okay, now there's a couple of places you could put your lengths in. I could put them in going up here like this because the lengths are associated with the elevation and the plan, or I could put them down here. I'm actually going to put them in my plan because once again, I have a bit of space down here. So, coming off the edge of the plan, I want to do a line down. I'm going to get my first longest one in, going from there to there, and another line down. I might extend that further a little bit there. I want it to be the same on both sides. Two little arrowheads. And this one here is going to be 90. So right in the middle. Okay. Now I've got two other measurements. I'm going to show you another way you could do them. It's very easy to actually pull it off here. Okay. As I've done here previously, you could do a line across. Like that again. I could pull this line down. I'll do it very lightly. Okay, and I could do two little arrowheads in there saying 10 and 10 inside there. But there is another way I could do it. Okay, I could also, if I wanted on the drawing, just inside here, to show the space inside here, and do a 10 like that. Okay, really easy to do that. You usually wouldn't do it maybe here, you might do it somewhere down here. And as I said, the alternative method would have been like this. That would have come out, jumped over, and then I would put in my arrowheads. Okay, and once again, got my 10, got my 70, and process of elimination, that has to be a 10 again. Okay, so there's some of my measurements. Now the next one I'm going to put in, okay, I've kind of got my heights, I've got my widths, and I've got my lengths all put in the drawing. And you can see there, it's still looking neat and tidy, okay, because I haven't put them in the kind of tight spaces inside here. I've kept them all on the outside. Okay, and I've kind of displayed all the information that I need. Now the last little one I'm going to get on top for the purpose of this video is putting in some circular method or circular dimensions. Now up here in the elevation I've got a circle. Okay, now that circle is at the front of the weighing scales. If I just refer to the actual object, you can see it there. It has a radius of 30. Now we can't see that on the end elevation, it's on this face. So one way I can put in a circle is this, okay? You could identify it by the radius or you could identify it by the diameter. If I want to identify it by the diameter, I can often put another diameter in going through the center, two little arrowheads at the end, okay, and on that then I might actually write this, put a little circle with a little dash going through it, and then if the radius is 30, then the diameter is 60. Okay, there is my diameter identified as 60 going across the middle. Okay, now there is another way I could have done that. Okay, I'm actually going to do it, just thinking, I'll do it in this little space in here. So I'm going to get my 30-degree set square, just to show you one other way I could have done it. Do a 30-degree line, made a mistake there now, put that out. 30-degree line pointing to the circumference of the circle. Skip the little line that is jumping over. Continue that on. And then from there, I could have done this. And I could have done a little arrowhead. And then once again, diameter symbol, 60. Could have also been done like that. Okay, really easy to do. Okay, and there's no need to do both of them. You can choose one or the other. You just have to decide which one you think is neater. Okay, I'm just going to go back here. Just going to heavy in that line there a little bit, and always remember, jump over any finishing lines. Okay, it should not be a line running through it. Just jump over it. Okay, continue line, stop, start it again, and continue on. Okay. So that's identifying the circle in the elevation, showing the diameter of 60 here and here. And then you also could have put in radius 30 or 30. Only in that case, you would have only done half the line, okay, from the center going out to the edge. And instead of the diameter symbol, you would have said or, and then instead of 60, it would have gone 30. And likewise, the exact same here. Okay, now at the bottom here, you could do the exact same method, okay, in the plan view. I've got two circles here, okay, concentric circles. They share the same center point. This one inside here, I'm going to just do the little radius. So I'll do little there like that, and that one there has a radius of 20, so it'll say or 20. Okay, quite easy to do. And then this one here, okay, well, first thing is it's actually already labeled for us. If I just zoom out again, because we can tell that the distance from there to there is already 70. So by the process of elimination, we know that the diameter is 70. Okay, when we actually have that, so we could actually put that in. Now another way you could do it is really easy. If that's radius 20, then I could do something like this. Probably a little bit neater. And that once again would be a radius, and on this one it would be a radius of 35. Okay, so that's done inside of the circle. Once again, another way, last way you could do this is, I'll do it going downwards. Okay, just pointing to the outside. You can see there I've skipped it every time. And I could write in or 35, just like that. Now if I zoom out there, we can actually see the drawing is fully dimensioned. Okay, once again the light's going off here, guys, sorry. So as you can see there, guys, once again, okay, I've got my elevation drawn, end elevation and plan, and I've got my various measurements for my heights all put in here. I've got my lengths all put in here in my plan, and my widths all down here in my plan. Now you can see here on my plan view, it's probably a little bit clogged up now because I put my widths in over here. Okay, I probably could, or sorry, on my widths in here, probably should have done maybe my heights here, my lengths here, and I could have done my widths over here in this space, okay, where I had the 35, the 25 and the 10. I could have done them actually coming down off the plan there like this. So I'll actually do that again just to, how will I do it here? So from the edge there, put in the overall length first, or the overall width. Bring that down. And that will be the overall width. I'll put in the other widths then. Now arrowheads in between. So I've done my 70. And from this one here, extend it down ever so lightly. And then from the center up here, that is the center line. Long dash, short, long, short, long, short, long, short. And then long. Okay. Once again, little arrowheads, neat and tidy. Okay, and once again, 10, 25, 35. Okay, that is another way. I probably should have maybe done it that way, because I'd have maybe all the lengths on this view, all my widths on this view, or sorry, my heights on this view, my widths on this view, and then maybe my lengths on this view. Because if I had that taken out of, then it might look a little bit neater there. Okay, because you also have to consider the last thing, then you always want to label your views as well, so you might have to leave a bit of space to write in elevation, end elevation, and plan down here. Okay, so guys, I hope you found that helpful. That's just a little video exercise on showing you how to do some proper dimensioning. Okay, and as I said at the very start of the video, be careful of what type of arrowheads you're going to use. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful.